Rod Blagojevich quoting Rudyard Kipling, Governor Jim McGreevy's announcement that he was a gay American and he was resigning and goodbye. The pantheon of even just the recent gubernatorial news conferences in this country, it's a lot to live up to. Our fourth story on the countdown this afternoon, South Carolina Republican Governor Mark Sanford meeting that bar, perhaps setting a new standard to which scandal-plagued politicians must aspire. To recap the evolving details of where in the world is Mark Sanford, on Thursday he left the governor's mansion, apparently alone, driving a state law enforcement vehicle himself that belonged to his security detail. A mobile telephone tower in Atlanta picking up a signal from his cell on Thursday night he would not be heard from again for the next 4 days. Even the lieutenant governor of that state, Andre Bauer, did not know where he was. On Monday, his staff issued a statement saying that Sanford was taking some time away from the office. In the hemisphere, as it turned out, on Monday night they issued another statement claiming he was hiking the Appalachian Trail over Father's Day weekend. Yeah. Tuesday night, a vague report that he'd been seen boarding a jet in Atlanta and a state vehicle was parked at the airport there. And this morning, he was caught, as you see, by a reporter arriving back in Atlanta on a flight from Buenos Aires. He tells her he was there alone. Yeah. 2:30 this afternoon, he fesses up. Slowly. Time now to turn again to our political analyst, Eugene Robinson, associate editor, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist of The Washington Post, who, as our luck would have it tonight, is both from South Carolina and has lived in Buenos Aires. Buenos noches.
Buenas noches, Keith.
Well,
listen,
yeah.
First of all, I am not making this up, okay?
Yeah.
I did, actually. I was the Post correspondent in South America from 1988 to 1992, and I did live in Buenos Aires. It's as if, I went to a news tailor and said, please, measure me for a scandal.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, the governor designed this for you. What do you think of it?
It is truly, I'm very grateful to the governor for doing this. I mean, it's kind of odd. This morning when he was cornered by the reporter at the airport in Atlanta and said that he had been there alone and that he had been driving along the coast in Buenos Aires, and I knew immediately that he is actually lying, because there is no coast to drive along in Buenos Aires. It's on a river. There's really no access to the waterfront that you can drive along. It was ridiculous. So clearly there was more to come out. However, I did not know what the more was.
No, he should have gone with, I was farming the pampas, that would have worked, at least to those of you who know the community. Is this it? Is there more, do you think?
Well, good question. A couple of things. Number one, everyone, reporters are certainly going to be interested in who financed his trips to Buenos Aires. Did he, how many times did he go there? Did he use any public funds? Did he see the woman on trips in which he used public funds? Stuff like that. That could be a major problem, obviously, if it turns out that he did, but we don't know. There are other statements that he made during the course of the press conference that I think reporters are also going to be tempted to look into. As I recall, he was asked if this is the only time he had been unfaithful. He said it was the only time. If the state newspaper apparently had these emails since December. I don't know what else the newspaper might have, but I assume they'd be kind of true squatting everything that he said at that extraordinary news conference. And then there's the whole political situation. A lot of people, including the Republican lieutenant governor, don't like him very much, and one wonders what happens next.
Well, two parts. First off, Politico has reported tonight that he's taken at least 3 taxpayer-funded trips to Argentina. Not clear whether or not he saw her on any of them, or all of them, or some combination thereof. But to this other point, I mean, I know the rule on this thing has been Democrats resign, Republicans don't, but how can he not? This is not just sex or deception. This is disappearing from your job for 5 days to permit sex and deception.
Absolutely, and just disappearing. I mean, going off the grid. It really is not acceptable for a chief executive of a major corporation, to say nothing of a chief executive of a state or of a country, to simply disappear and go off the grid and not be reachable. And it is not done. It comes after some kind of eccentricities and and prickliness that Governor Sanford has displayed in South Carolina. The initial reactions there seem to be, human tragedy, our hearts go out to the family. In the cold light of day, I think there are going to be a lot more calls for him to step down.
Yes, especially if there is anything more to this, and it's so bizarre now it would be almost impossible to believe that there isn't some other equally bizarre detail yet unturned. Eugene Robinson, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist, analyst, and a native of South Carolina and former resident of Buenos Aires. Also dumbfounded guy. Thank you, Gene.
Hasta pronto.
Life does not just imitate art, it is a slave to art. Consider what devotees of the Michael Palin comedy series from the 70s, Ripping Yarns, thought when the Sanford, Argentina saga broke today. The episode is Tompkinson's School Days. It's Palin as Tompkinson, the actress Gwen Watford as his mother, and here's the pivotal 25 seconds.
Where's Daddy?
He's at the South Pole again, dear.
Oh, lucky Daddy. I wish I could be there.
Tompkinson.
Yes, Mummy?
He may not be back from the pole.
You mean?
Yes. He has a woman down there.
Another woman, Mummy, besides you?
I'm afraid so. He keeps going back there, you know. This is his 146th expedition.
He has a woman down there.